Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 17 of the NFL season and power rankings for week 17. We got 2 weeks left. Pretty much all the playoff spots are set up to be clinched this week, so it's going to be an interesting week. Before I dive right into these rankings, I want to quickly say subscribe if you're new, it's greatly appreciated. Leave a like as well, you know the whole drill. So, no honorable mentions this week, so let's dive straight into number 10, which is the Los Angeles Chargers. It was a divisional win for the Chargers on Thursday Night Football, and the ground game was actually surprisingly effective. Gus Edwards had 2 touchdowns and 68 yards on 14 carries on Thursday night, and when Herbert needed to throw the ball down the field, he was throwing well. 284 yards and 2 touchdowns, with Ladd McConkey catching every single pass thrown his way to a tune of 87 yards. It was a good day for this offense against a pretty good Denver defense, and the Chargers defense also played fairly well in this game, specifically against the ground, as the Broncos as a team had 110 yards. Bo Nix did throw the ball effectively against this defense, but for the most part, they did their job. They made the plays when needed. And the Chargers now sit at 9-6 and are 1 win away from clinching a playoff spot. Plus, they are getting J.K. Dobbins back this week. That is a massive addition for this playoff push and this upcoming playoff run. So I really like what the Chargers are showing us going forward. They come in at number 10. Number 9 is the Los Angeles Rams, and that win for the Rams was a historic game. It was the first time that the defense was able to force less than 10 points while not giving up a single punt. It was a pretty weird game for the Rams, but they got the win nonetheless, and they especially able to turn it on come later in the second half. But again, you get the win nonetheless. They were able to force the Jets to have multiple 10-plus play drives. That ended with nothing, including 3 turnover on downs and a forced fumble. It was a great day for that defense. It was also a great day for Kyren Williams, 122 yards and a touchdown on the day. He was able to boost this offense when the passing game wasn't able to show up in this one. Not to say Matthew Stafford played poorly, but it just wasn't what I was expecting out of this Rams passing game against this Jets defense, who this season hasn't been the great against the pass. But at the same time, when the ground game's working as well as it did, and your defense is playing that well, you can kind of say, okay, passing game, you can take a back seat in this one. And it worked well for the Rams. They got the win. They sit first place in the NFC West and looking to clinch that division. It's going to be an interesting one on Saturday for the Rams, but they come in at number 9 for these rankings. Number 8 is the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens got a win over the Steelers for the first time in what feels like a long time, and it puts them tied for first place in the AFC North. Lamar Jackson played an incredible game with MVP caliber of play that he has shown this season. 3 touchdowns on the day passing for him. Derrick Henry also showing up in the MVP caliber level with 162 yards on the ground. The defense also played really well, holding the Steelers' ground game to just 117 yards as a team, with no Steeler rusher having over 50 yards and having a pick 6 on Russell Wilson, which pretty much sealed the game in the fourth quarter. It was an overall fantastic game for the Ravens. They're playing really well. No team's going to want to see them come playoff time, whether at M&T Bank Stadium or on the road. Going to be a tough team to beat, especially when both Lamar and Derrick Henry are clicking on all cylinders. So they're going to come in at number 8. Number 7 is the Washington Commanders, and that was exactly the game you wanted to see from Jayden Daniels. He took the team on his back as a rookie and got a massive win against a divisional foe to keep the hopes of clinching the division alive for the Commanders. He threw for 5 touchdowns on the day. He was the leading rusher with 81 yards. He was doing everything he can to secure this win, and it was successful in doing so with another clutch game-winning drive. The Eagles had a pretty solid day offensively against his Commanders defense, but I'll go more into that when we talk about the Eagles a little bit later. And yeah, for the most part, I really like what I'm seeing from Washington. They're going to be a weird team, though, come playoff time. Most likely going to be playing on the road against either the Eagles or the Vikings or the Lions, one of those teams, as they're probably going to be the 7th seed out in the NFC, which is weird to feel and weird to say because they have 10 wins. But that's the nature when the NFC North is as good as it is. But again, they're close to clinching their spot in the dance. I feel like they're going to probably this week. And I really like what I'm seeing from Washington. They come in at number 7. Number 6 is the Green Bay Packers. And they clinched their spot. They're in the dance. Jordan Love is playing incredibly well. Wasn't asked to do too much in this game, as they were playing the New Orleans Saints and they were dominating them from the get-go. But, I mean, this was a great game. Josh Jacobs had played really well. Jordan Love played well. The defense played incredibly. This was just the Packers being the Packers and going against a much weaker team and handling business like they're supposed to. I really like what I see from Green Bay. Matt LaFleur has those guys playing so well, and they're going to be a threat come playoff time. The Packers are going to be a threat for a long time as well. Remember, they are the youngest team in the league, and there's no signs of them slowing down anytime soon. And I know Xavier McKinney did not have an interception in this game, but he was still playing well, doing what he was supposed to do as a safety. And that defense as a whole was making life a living hell for Spencer Rattler, which again was what they were supposed to do. The Packers are one of my favorite teams going into this playoff run. So interesting to see kind of how they play against those other teams. As the most likely the 6th seed out in the NFC, they're going to be having a relatively easy matchup for the wild card round, but we'll see kind of how everything unfolds when the time gets there. For now, they come in at number 6. Number 5 is the Minnesota Vikings. That game was closer than I expected, but the Vikings defense does what the Vikings defense does, and they sealed the game with an interception at the end, which was also the second time they picked off Geno Smith. Sam Darnold played really well, throwing for 3 touchdowns on the day, including the one to Justin Jefferson that was the game winning. And it was an absolutely great throw with pressure in his face, getting hit while throwing. Beautiful job by Sam Darnold. He's been a very interesting guy to look at this season because no one expected him to have the season he's been having. He's going to earn himself a big contract in the offseason. So that's going to be definitely a situation to keep an eye on. Aaron Jones had a pretty solid showing with 67 yards on the day as the Vikings continue to be tied with the Lions for first place in the NFC and in the NFC North. Going to be a massive showdown in Week 18 to decide the 1 seed and to decide that division. So that's probably going to be Sunday Night Football in Week 18, but we'll see. And I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the Vikings. Curious to see how Sam Darnold will play come playoff time, as it will be his first playoff experience. But if this Vikings defense can continue the level of play that they're showing, they're going to be a tough team to beat. They come in at number 5. Number 4 is the Philadelphia Eagles, and Jalen Hurts going down early in that game didn't necessarily help, but they were still on top late and probably would have won if not for an untimely dropped pass. But it's also been the nature of the Eagles this year. They've lost now 2 games due to that, which is a kind of weird circumstances, but whatever. You have to be able to play a full 60 minutes, which Eagles have done for the most part this season, and it's just the nature of playing in the NFL. Saquon Barkley had an incredible game, however, 150 plus yards and 2 touchdowns, an MVP caliber performance, even though he's probably not going to win the MVP, as that's a near impossible thing for a non-QB to do over the past 11, 12 years. But still an incredible game nonetheless. I really like how Philly is playing, and as long as Jalen Hurts isn't out long term, I think they're a real contender in the NFC. Or maybe Kenny Pickett just has his Nick Foles arc, and he ends up playing really well in the playoffs. We shall see. Nonetheless, I hope everything is okay with Jalen Hurts. I hope the concussion isn't anything serious, and he's able to be back come playoff time. As when he's playing at a high level, the Eagles are just that much better of a team to watch. But they come in at number 4 nonetheless. Number 3 is the Kansas City Chiefs. A real solid showing from them, especially the defense, who had 2 interceptions on CJ Stroud. But that's not to say the offense didn't play well also. Kareem Hunt had 55 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Patrick Mahomes had 33 yards and a touchdown on the ground to go to pair with his 260 yards and a touchdown through the air. It was overall a really solid showing, and it's a good showcase of why the Chiefs are 14-1 and are 1 win away from making the AFC run through Kansas City. And if that happens, which it most likely will, they're going to be a very, very difficult team to beat. They're looking for that 3-peat. Not really sure how many teams are really able to beat them in Kansas City. There might be 1, maybe 2. They're going to be a tough team to beat in the playoffs, as they always are. It also helps that Xavier Worthy had a great showing on Saturday, so that's a good sign for this playoff run they're about to go on. Now, again, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. The fact they're 14-1 this season is nothing short of a miracle. We'll see if that devil magic will run off in the playoffs, but for now, it is going strong, and the Chiefs come in at number 3. Number 2 is the Detroit Lions, and they bounced back strong after that game against Buffalo with a great showing against Chicago. Off the back of a 3-touchdown game from Jared Goff and a 109-yard day on the ground from Jahmyr Gibbs, the Lions offense was playing fantastically and even got creative with their play calling with that fake fumble bullshit that they did against Chicago. And I understand some people being like, well, why are you using it against the Bears? Well, it's because no other team's really going to fall for that, especially in the playoffs when you have no evidence that they will fall for it. So might as well use it here to get a much-needed win as you're still fighting for that division at this point. Ben Johnson is probably going to get himself a job in the offseason, especially if the Lions do go all the way, which that's going to be a tough loss for this offense. We'll see how it impacts it, but that's not to worry about just yet. The defense shut down the ground and forced Caleb Williams to throw, which he did to some success, but it just wasn't enough to match the performance that the Lions were showing. And now we're all head forward and face first for a deathmatch showdown in Week 18 between the Lions and Vikings to decide not only that division, but probably also the 1 seed in the NFC as well. So the Lions come in at number 2. Number 1 is the Buffalo Bills. Closer than I expected, but in the end, the Bills got the win nonetheless. Allen took a bit of a backseat in this game, only having 154 yards and a touchdown through the air. But James Cook did have a great game with 100 yards and a touchdown on ground for him. The defense was the main focal point, though, as they had a big-time scoop and score in the fourth quarter that put the Bills up 10 and pretty much sealed the game. The Bills probably won't get the 1 seed in the AFC, but are still going to be a very tough team to beat coming playoff time with how much they're starting to click on defense. The main thing is, though, when the Bills have played really high-quality offenses the past few weeks, the defense has not showed up alongside the offense. But we'll see. Maybe these final 2 weeks of them playing not great teams are going to boost the confidence of the defense, and they'll get really clicking come playoff time. Who knows? We shall see. For now, the Bills come in as the top spot in the NFL and number 1 on these power rankings. Well, there you have it. My power rankings for week 17 of the NFL season. Quick little rundown. Chargers at 10, Rams at 9, Ravens at 8, Commanders at 7, Packers at 6, Vikings at 5, Eagles at 4, Chiefs at 3, Lions 2, and the Buffalo Bills at number 1. Thank you all for tuning in. See you all next time, and subscribe, leave a like, the whole drill. Have yourselves a damn good one. Peace.